Hello, everybody. This is a male space. Today I have with me Jim Wendler. Jim, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Jim Wendler. I'm the author and creator of 531. So I wrote it and then I don't know, I guess I coach it now. I played football at the University of Arizona from 95 to 99. I went to the Air Force Academy first, believe it or not, which if you saw me, you'd think is kind of funny, or if you know me. So I went there for 2 years. Then I walked on to Arizona, got a scholarship. After college, I started powerlifting. I was interning or GA or whatever you want to call it at the University of Kentucky for the football and other sports teams. Uh, and it was awesome. That's kind of the avenue I thought I wanted to go down was, being a college strength coach, but it wasn't for me. And then I was Elite FTS's first full-time employee. If anyone's familiar with Elite FTS, that's Dave Tate's company. We started off in a very small building in London, Ohio. Eventually, we built up and built up. After I want to say 10 years of working full time, I was kind of went out on my own, and so we have Jim Wendler LLC, big smart name for a company. It's my wife and I. I don't know how many books I've written. I've never counted, so maybe 10 or something like that. My wife and I also volunteer at the high school. We have a junior high, so my wife trains all the junior high football players. And we have a pipeline in Little Town, London, Ohio. We have a pipeline, one of the few things, we have a pipeline directly into the high school football team. I work with them 50 weeks out of the year, our kids train, and that's 5-0. We take 2 weeks off. We have an incredibly committed team. I work for one of the greatest coaches I've ever worked with. Uh, since we started the off season, and we have a whole bunch of different coaches and stuff. I am not taking credit for this. So my first off season was right before the 2017 season. So right after the 2016 season, the week, or I'm sorry, the Monday after the Friday, our kids 100% turnout came in. We have made the playoffs. We were in the final four last year. We were in the final eight this year. We have, probably 50 kids on the team, 60 kids from freshman to senior. We don't have a ton of turnout, but we are a small farm town in west of Columbus, Ohio. And I've done a lot of stuff. I've worked with a lot of different athletes and lifters. I trained at Westside. I probably should have said that too, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I trained at Westside. I squatted 1,000 pounds. I totaled 2375. And I'm super proud of everything I've done. But the thing that's given me the most back has been working with the high school kids.
Yeah.
So, and that's, I know we're going to talk about different stuff, but one of the things I've learned is when you're younger, I don't know, it's teenage to, I don't know what age, let's just say 40, you have to be very selfish with what you want to do. So don't let a girl drag you down. Don't go to this school because your girlfriend or your friends.
Mhm.
From about 40 on, it's time for you to give back. So
Yes.
I'm following my mom. I always say I followed in my mom's footsteps because she loved to cook. And then she used to cook with at a homeless at our church for the homeless. So funny, she didn't even go to the church. She kind of she kind of lost not her faith. She didn't lose her faith. She just didn't like the church anymore because she's like, I'm over here fucking giving back. And the only other person that worked with her was a fucking Jewish guy, which I thought was hilarious. They're working at a Catholic church. But
Yeah.
I learned from my mom, she had this talent and this love for cooking. And so obviously she cooked for us and everything like that. And she loved throwing big parties. But this is something that she could give back to the community. And so I remember thinking as a kid, this is a great example, but I don't want to hang around homeless people. I don't like to cook and I don't want to. So, and then it dawned on me, well, this is something I can do to help the community. And since doing that, we don't make any money. We don't get a cent. But I'm telling you, it has paid me back more than I ever thought possible. So dude, I am useful to
Yes.
this community. It's not, listen, I'm not curing cancer. I always tell people that. I understand that. But you know what, motherfucker, either are you. So,
Yes.
uh, so it's been really cool. And it's been awesome because my youngest son is part of the football team. So my wife this is his eighth grade year. She's got him now. So I'm going to get him, which is like a, dream come true for me. So Anyway, yeah, that's what I've been doing. I've been super lucky. I always say, like, when I was 19, I was living in my first apartment. I wrote on a piece of paper the three things I want to do with my life. And I remember, like, I have like no idea how I'm going to do any of this. And I asked my dad, he's like, don't worry about it. Just work, just fucking go forward. But one step, whatever the path takes you, it's going to lead to where you want to go as long as you're working. It's just about going forward. I don't know. He's like, don't worry about the path. It will find its way. And magically, not only did I find my way, but like it was better than I expected. So, and trust me, there's a lot of fucking pits in there. Sorry about the language, but there's a ton of pitfalls and shit stuff that happened between those times. But I'm super happy, man. I'm super lucky, and I'm grateful. I also worked, so I'm not. I'm not. Listen, I need some of the credit. You
Uh,
know?
Definitely. No. Well, yes. I mean, you could say you're lucky, but I'm going to say this. I mean, sincerely, that to accomplish what you've accomplished, it took loads of work. I don't think
Yeah,
anyone's going to be this college football athlete or squat 1,000 pounds or build a business or coach
yeah,
athletes without serious, serious work.
yeah. And it's the funny thing is every off season or every at the end of every off season, I always think, that's all I can learn. I don't know what else I can do with these kids. And then the season rolls around. We still train during the season, but I'm like, oh my God, did I fuck this up? Oh, we should try this. So by the time the next off season, I'm like, God, I was such an idiot last year. Like
Yeah.
I always laugh about that. So, I've been obsessed, and that's the only word I can say it with training since I was the summer between my seventh and eighth grade years when my dad let me start lifting weights. I was bugging him and bugging him. He's like, finally, he sat me down and he's like, listen, once we start, you cannot quit. I don't want, none of that crap. So he's like, if we do this, you're coming in. We lifted every other day. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, Tuesday, for the entire summer. And I hadn't stopped since. So and I have kind of an addictive personality, I guess, in a way. So I never stopped training since I've been 13 and, trying to be better. And now I can give it back, and all those dumb mistakes I made when I was a kid, I can fix with this new, the new kids, so to speak. So I'm happy.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for all that because you've helped a
Yeah.
lot of people across the world, even with just your training programs. And I'd like to tell the audience also that I met Jim actually at a seminar 20 years ago in Pennsylvania, and I drove a few hours from New York, and it was a great seminar. And yeah, so you helped the
Was
guys.
Dave there?
No, it was just you
Just me.
and
Okay.
Thomas
Yeah.
Debo.
Okay.
Yeah,
'Cause I
and
think we did two seminars with Tom, I believe. I don't know. I don't remember. Whatever. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
it's okay. It's all right. I mean, yeah, he's a nice guy. He was helpful. You were helpful, and I remember those 2 days. It was a meaningful weekend for me.
Yeah. What was it? Saturday was a long day, right? Do you remember it being a long
Yes.
day?
Yes,
Yeah.
that was pretty much a seminar where you were teaching us, and then the next day we were going over exercise form. We covered
Yeah.
all three competitive lifts. I mean, I'm not a power lifter. I competed in bodybuilding, but I just went there because I love the gym. And I like your writing, so
Yeah.
I figured I would go there and meet some new people.
Yeah.
So, to go forward with now that we're on the topic of training, well, actually, I got to ask you a funny question before I go ahead with this.
Hmm.
I'm glad that you mentioned the kind of stand before we were recording this, the standards that are involved in being a college athlete. Have you ever heard of some of the bodybuilders who said that they picked bodybuilding because it's an individual sport and they did not want their teammates to let them down? When they have told me this, I cannot help but chuckle because I would
Yes.
like to see the potential athleticism that these bodybuilders had
Yes.
to the point where they would be the best in the team and everybody else would be letting them down.
Like they're fucking Dev Gru or SEAL Team 6, and everyone else is 8-year-old kids with plastic guns. Yeah.
Yes. But meanwhile, they're amongst the cream of the crop of all men,
Yes.
pretty much. Yes. So,
Yeah. So the best way I have to say this is for a high school athlete, I was really good, but I wasn't great. Uh, played varsity football for 3 years. I was a state qualifier, and I placed in the state 2 years in the discus. I'm 5'10". If you know anything about the discus, it's not an ideal body type to throw. Uh, Very strong for my size at that level. Ran like a 52 400 meter. I ran consistently 1 6-minute miles. Okay. I got to Arizona and any drill we had to do that was like, listen, this is just 50%. We're just going over the motions. Every time that happened, I had to go 100. It was 1,000% just to keep up with all the great athletes. That's
Yes.
the best way I can tell it. So if you think, like I always hear, like, yeah, we had a kid on our team, he was this and that. I'm like, dude, do you know what a first round draft pick looks like in the NFL? Like a true first round. They're such fucking freaks. And I always say, look at a picture of Myles Garrett in high school. You couldn't take enough steroids to look like this, most people. And
Yes.
this was him probably not working out very much. Like, if we're going to be completely honest, what I think training hard is and consistently. And I'm like, or Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb in high school, look, dude, you couldn't take as much, none of us, like,
Yeah.
you probably did 4 curls and like, oh, I'm good. And that was all 4 years. And so I always laugh at that because, um, and to me, and this is another thing is when I was playing football, like, people always want to be successful. I understand that. But my whole thing when I was playing football is I do not want to let my boys down. I do not listen. I don't care if I score. I don't care if my block isn't perfect. But if my guy doesn't make the block, if I do what I'm told to do and I'm not the weak link, as we like to say at London, you have to carry your own fucking water. You know, so I don't want to be the weak link. I might not be the strongest link, but when you're at that level, and it's funny because body, like, really, you think you're going to be the fucking alpha,
Yeah.
and I think that takes a special attitude. I think that's one thing I think sports does a good job with. I think hard infantry style or special operations with the military do this, where you are an important cog in a smaller group, and your decisions mean more than he doesn't get the date or whatever. Like, it's life or death, or you lose the game. And I think that stuff needs to be understood with young men because I'm telling you, it's been my experience that you will never have a bigger place in our society than if you can be part of that. And I think that gets thrown around, and I think that's why a lot of people struggle. You see it all the time with ex-football players. I saw it with me when I left. I didn't have when I trained, I had fucking purpose, like
Yes.
true purpose, like not just for me, for my teammates, the crowd, the town. And I think that's why a lot of guys struggle coming out of the military who are part of a fighting group, especially because every decision mattered. And you may not want to do X, Y, and Z, but fuck, dude, my buddies need me. And I think, and the sports give it to you a little bit, but obviously in combat, that's a whole other thing. I'm not comparing playing football with, going to Iraq and kicking down doors or anything like that. But I think young men need that. I really do. They need that togetherness. They need that sense of purpose. Dude, you go outside. Like, my buddies who went to Afghanistan, Iraq, they come home. They're like, this is fucking stupid. Life is stupid.
Hmm.
Like, you're going to get mad at me for not blasting off the line when the light turns green? Really?
Yes.
Like, you think that? I don't know. So it's just something that's kind of carried with me. And that's what I try to do with our kids and I just addressed the kids yesterday during training. I said, listen, your work ethic is more than just you playing. Your work ethic is going to determine whether or not you're the weak link. And every year, obviously, football, you're going to get injured. I always tell kids, if you don't want to get injured, don't play football. 100% injury potential.
Yes.
We always have injuries, and some of them are obviously severe. That we don't have a lot of kids. That next guy up, dude, you can't be the weak link. Like, again, you don't have to be all state, but you got to do your fucking job. And and you don't know when that time's coming. I've told this story. I won't tell it here, but how I got onto the playing field at Arizona was a fucking crazy, me being in the right place at the right time. But more important, I was fucking prepared. Like 3 years of preparation in that program, one day. And the head coach told me from now until the time you leave, you will play, so I was ready for it. So I don't know. I get all pumped up about that, but I'm, try to teach our kids that too. So, um,
Well, yes. Thank you for that. I mean, can
yeah,
you?
I know I was off in a fucking million directions, brother. I'm
No, no,
sorry.
no, no. I appreciate everything you're saying. Everything you're saying is what I want to
Yeah.
talk about. Yes, that's what I want to cover. So,
Okay.
whatever you want to say as
Yeah.
all good with me. So I would like to transition that work ethic. Perhaps we can go into for the segment of this conversation on fitness and lifting and what you've done. Can you tell us a little bit about training at Westside Barbell because it kind of transitioned to me, according to me, the way that you said we were touching upon the individual sports and the team sports and the bodybuilder thinking that he could hang in the NFL or
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but can we talk about some of the standards at Westside Barbell? Even though powerlifting is an individual sport, you guys were working out as a team.
Yeah, we always had we had like the morning crew, which I was luckily to be part of because Dave was there, Louie trained there. I think Louie trained daily. I mean, like 9 times a day.
Yes.
But I got trained with some of the bigger guys, Chuck,
Yeah.
uh, a lot of these guys. Anyway, and someone asked me a question. I really started thinking about this. You're going to have good days and bad days in training, but how do I put this is the best way to say it. You and I now, or if we're training whatever, and people usually have good days and bad days. At Westside, you only had good days or great days. You better fucking find a gear. You better figure out how to do it, buddy, because you're gonna run the fuck down. That's just the way it goes. So it was, it. I've heard about the documentary, and it was very much, in my experience, incredibly uh, romanticized.
Okay.
I had the funniest time, dude. It was me and a bunch of dudes, and it was the most vile, sick humor you've ever heard. I always laugh when someone makes a tweet or something or whatever, and like, oh my God, that's horrible. And someone will be like, well, that's kind of how guys talk. And I'm like, dude, that's like the G version of what goes out of my mouth. Uh, it's fucking vile, the shit that comes out. But so it wasn't like that for me, but everyone there wanted to get better. Like that's the only reason why you train at Westside is to squat 1,000, bench 700 pounds. That's it. And so you were willing to work, and those guys had work ethics. Everyone had a work ethic. Even the lazy guys had work ethics that most people couldn't understand. So you weren't allowed to have bad days, and nor did you ever generally put yourself in position to have a shitty day. Like it's going to happen, but like you got to bring your A game. If it's not with what you lift, it's the effort you do on assistance. It just, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yes.
you weren't allowed to have a bad day. And there's like, you basically audition, essentially, because Lou will boot you out if you're not doing what's need to be done. It doesn't mean you can't have fun. And because Louie, I'm telling you, Louie is one of the funniest dudes I've ever met. I mean, we had a blast in there laughing. Me and Dave and JL, all these guys were just, it was relentless in there. I loved it because it felt like a little bit like a locker room. Uh, it's funny because I've never had like a normal job ever. So I don't know anything other than locker rooms since I've been like 13. And like the most vile language, my humor's horrible. And even my charity work is basically weight room, locker room talk. So it's been a good life, brother. I never had to censure myself.
Right.
Anyway, I mean, I do a little bit with the kids. Let me just be honest. But
Yeah, of course. Yes.
but anyway, yeah. So yes, it was obviously with the spotting and stuff, and everyone helps with the technique, and you had a ton of wisdom in there too. So I was fairly for West Side fairly young. I don't know how old I was when I went there. It doesn't matter, but he had a lot of experience. So now not only like if something's happened, I always tell this story. Todd Brock, who had been at West Side for probably 20 years. I was having a shitload of trouble with my squat. Nothing was working well. And, of course, you're like, oh, maybe I need to do more, I don't know, glute ham raises or whatever. And Todd's like, let me just watch you squat. So it was Friday. You know what Fridays are at Westside, right? Fridays are bananas at Westside. So I'm squatting. I remember he was like looking, and Todd is an engineer by trade. So he's very mathematical about everything. And he looks at me, he goes, bring your hands in about a half inch on each side. Next set comes around, fucking perfect. Completely cured my squat. Now think about that. Everyone would have been like, listen, I need to do more quad work, maybe my calves, whatever. Uh, that was that simple of a fix. And I never forget that. It changed. That's from that time, my squat was, I felt perfect out of the hole. So it's funny how that stuff works. You can, when you're working with so many knowledgeable, motivated people, good things happen. So there you go.
Yes, and you trained with some very impressive people. So
Oh yeah, dude. I remember we had a day when um, we had a whole bunch of guys that flew in or drove in from, I mean, all over. And I think in our group there was probably 12 dudes that were squatting, and it was just nuts. We did. You remember all the old Westside shit?
yes,
We did. The first set was a squat bar, 55 pounds, with three choked blue bands on there. You remember the blue bands were the thick bands?
yeah, yes, yeah.
So this with the bands were slipped around like the old West Side monolith, which was like this thick because Louie put 2x4s and shit. Is probably 650 pounds at the top at the beginning. Like you took the bar off.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, within those 12 guys, I think 940 was the smallest squat, or something 925 or something like it was over 900, whatever it was.
Yes.
And I was like, I mean, imagine if that was on social media today, like people, oh my God. But it was just one of those days, man. It was fun, you know. So I wasn't the first guy out because, of course, that was speed day, but you know what speed day turns into, max effort day. I wasn't the first guy out, but I was not far behind. I will say
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah.
that was crazy. Oh,
Uh, well, yes, I'm sure it was crazy.
yeah.
I also saw the documentary. Actually, an acquaintance of mine wound up in the background of one of those meets in the video, actually.
Oh,
So
yeah.
yeah. So yeah, that
Yay.
that was interesting. And well, one more question about fitness, actually, and we're going to segue into some other topics here. Is that well, you mentioned social media before. I've noticed that it's good that we have social media, that all this information is being tossed around and people are getting more information and they're getting to their goal
Mhm.
perhaps quicker now. I think that people are getting to their goals quicker. And even from social media, I've seen some very young men with big lifts these days. I mean, that are very impressive, and probably due to the amount of information that we have now. With that said, have you seen this obsession with perfect workouts, optimizing your training, staying away from fatigue, and the fatigue to I don't even know what it's stimulus to fatigue ratio, making your movements more stable so you can get more size by making the movement stable for bodybuilding, that is, not powerlifting.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna I'm just gonna talk freely here. So we're gonna have it that everything that really makes you take a knee after, let's say, a set of, let's say, unstable Bulgarian split squats, which I love, that make me,
Yeah.
which done properly make me take a knee afterwards, or
Yeah.
stiff leg deadlifts, or these long range of motion exercises that leave you panting and heaving and on the floor after,
Yeah.
or good mornings. So what do you think is going on here? Because I think this is a little ridiculous.
I think we talk. I don't watch any training shit, and I'm not trying. I'm not just so we bear. It's not an ego thing. I just like that's all I do. All day is I have sheets of paper. Like this is the guy I'm working with. I got this is where I take notes that come into my head. And I have tons of those stuff. I will say this. Part of me thinks a lot of that shit is how you avoid working hard.
Mhm.
Now, that does not mean that every day has to be a fucking crazy day. Okay. The kid that I'm working with right after this was the best athlete we've ever had at London. Okay. So he's coming in. He's a football player at Colgate. Uh, when I say tremendous athlete, anything he does he's like the highest scored more points in basketball history at our school than anyone else. All state football player, 4.0 GPA. He is the hardest working kid I've ever seen in my entire life and the nicest human being. So like all this shit, like it's what a dick. That's why I always fucking hate the kid. So we do some stuff together because he's the only one that wants to do stupid shit with me. Um, but he's able to level up because not because he's scared of fatigue. That's what my job is as a coach when I work with him. Like, listen, we're gonna have to be smart about this, but we do a lot of dumb shit too. We do a ton of dumb shit, and it is not smart. But I think that gives you a mental edge. That did for me as an athlete, and I think it does for him, and I think it does for most people. Like I said, it doesn't have to happen every workout, but if everything has to be perfect, you're gonna shortchange yourself. Not 10%, fucking 20, 25%.
Yeah.
You
Yes.
gotta go fucking dumb some of the time.
Yes.
And the problem is a lot of people will see, for example, Zach and I, the kid I'm working with, we did a prowler workout. Probably the worst thing I've ever done prowler wise. I've been doing the prowler. I was the first guy to get the fucking prowler in 2004
Mm.
before we even released it. They're like, dude, send one. I'll see how it feels. I was like, oh my God. Anyway, so it's a long time. We did a prowler workout on Monday. I am not, dude. I shook so bad and fell over after one. I was like, oh my, and we haven't even fucking done. We're not even close to done. And I'm
Yes.
telling you how the fuck I'm going to put this together. Um, and so, but that has done something to me mentally. I think people need to understand because, like, we talk about mental strength and physical strength. I think both those two go hand in hand. We do this all the time at the high school. We have a young man who shows up. He's underweight or overweight or whatever, doesn't have a lot of confidence. My goal is to obviously we want to win football games. I totally get that. But I want to train those. I want to every day I try to give those kids, especially those kids, some kind of physical challenge that I know they can handle, but they don't think they can. And
Mhm.
then they have a little bit of success. You know what they do? They walk a little taller. You stack fucking week after week, month after month of this, those kids go from being a shy, reclusive, no self-esteem young man to a senior, they'll fucking fight anyone. And I'm not like, I've seen my kids like, I'm like, holy shit, dude. Do you remember when you were a freshman? He's like, oh my God. Then these kids are all fucking like, dude, let's fucking brawl right after the game. Let's do it. I'm like, come on, guys, let's fucking cool out here. And I'm like, these are good kids who have an edge to them because they combine the physical and the mental. So what I'm saying is those physical challenges that really work you hard give you a little mentally, and then you just keep on stacking those wins. I cannot listen. Those things are not uh, mutually exclusive. If you want to be a stronger mental dude, like mentally stronger and tougher, you've got to put yourself through physical hardships and then vice versa. And that's why we do that dumb shit. Because I still need, I always call it keeping my teeth sharp. I
Yes.
love having, like Zach obviously is not here all the time. So I have to do some of this stuff myself. My oldest son goes to school in Arkansas. We will do challenges together on the phone. I climbed 200 fucking stories with a 20-pound pack on my back Thanksgiving Day because he couldn't make it here. So I'm like, dude, because we always did a challenge when he's here. Like, we got to do something dumb. So that stuff not only makes me tougher, but it brings me and my son together. It brings me and Zach together. So I think there's more to it than the worst thing you could do is be optimal. I really think, dude, no one has ever done anything great by being optimal,
Right.
you know,
Yes.
had that in mind. Again, it doesn't, when I train these kids, I'll give you an example. You'll understand. I'm not trying to smoke them all the time. I'm trying to give them little challenges that they know they can handle. So not every day is like Navy SEAL day, you know, that's where a lot of people think. And I've always said this is that idea of breaking people down and building back up, I don't think ever worked. I think people were just tougher. In this day and age, with the young men that I work with, if you did that, no one would come back. So we start training them. We teach them what to do. And then like, listen, on this set, man, I think you get 12, and you're like, dude, this kid could probably do 50,
Yeah.
but they don't know that. And so we do 12 and they're like this, or like, we'll do a set of push-ups. I'm like, dude, we're going to do push-ups for a minute straight. Everyone's got to be moving. And
Yes.
then they just get a little bit better. So, and according to the, CNS timeline, it's like, listen, you got 15 seconds and you got to go home.
Yeah.
But, we just stack little things like that all the time. And, the things that I can do and Zach can do is going to be a little higher than a 13-year-old kid who's, 50% body fat. So it's got to be relative to who you are as a human being. But listen, if you want to be tougher, I guarantee you, no, there's very few people who whine who haven't been through physically fucking hard shit and just keep on coming back because
Right.
they know it ain't gonna help you.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. Now, exactly. Well, even before we spoke here, we were talking about the topic of whining, and we were talking, and when I asked you if you were familiar with some of the male content online, this is how we got into the topic of whining very soon. Is that because you've noticed whining in this sort of content that's coming up in this generation? I mean, let's say, for example, there are some issues that are going on with males these days. There's, let's say, about, I think the statistic is 25% of homes are fatherless. And also, even if there are fathers present, Uh, it doesn't mean the father is there mentally either, and I know that very well, and I've said it in other videos. And
Yes.
I also grew up in a time and place where I guess many men were checked out as well. I guess there are forces that are, let's say, getting in men's way, whether it's socially or within families. But what I stressed in a previous video was this topic of whining. I mean, even if, let's say, complaints are valid, wouldn't we say that after a while, whining without solutions is not going to do anything?
No. Well, this is one thing my old man taught me. And uh, I, it's funny because I heard Jocko, the famous Navy SEAL guy, talk about this. He says it better than I did. But I always said, it may not be your fault, but it's your responsibility. And I'll give you an example here.
Yes.
Uh, I don't know. My wife was, I don't know, 7 months pregnant. I was riding a motorcycle. We did a 2 week, me and a dude just, blasting through the coast and stuff. I got fucking smashed. Guy was texting on his car, came up and hit me. I didn't have a helmet on. I didn't have any leathers on. How the fuck I lived is beyond me. He was going 75 miles an hour, 70 miles, whatever it was. We were on a highway. And I was in the hospital, all that stuff. And it would have, and I was, this was in, I don't know, 2010, I guess. 20, I don't know what year it was, but I had a whole bunch of shit go on. I had to get my spine fused. And I remember being really angry at him for like a couple days. I'm like, fuck that guy. Because I was riding with one of the guys I used to train with at Westside, who's fucking massive. And
Yeah.
this kid stopped. I'll give him some credit. He stopped after he hit me. But my buddy, who was 6'3", 265 with like 22-inch arms. I mean, the shit that this kid was crying because my buddy was just I won't say it out loud what my buddy was saying to this guy, but I was like
Right.
fucking laughing because I'm bleeding everywhere. And my buddy's like, and I remember thinking I could sit here and blame this kid, but it ain't going to help my back. It's not going to help my shoulders. It's not going to help the road rash, all this stuff. I'm like, well, listen, was not my fault, but all this recovery is my responsibility. So I just let all that, I didn't necessarily forgive him, but what am I going to do? Like, so anything that is a problem in your life, like no one's really going to give a shit more than you. I learned this from dealing with doctors with my back. They don't have to walk home or go home with a bad back. So I'm like, listen, I'll just take care of everything myself. I will take that responsibility on. And it's more than that. Like when we had issues with our job, it's like, dude, no one gives a shit. Like nothing's going to get solved if I complain. Nothing will. Nothing gets solved with complaining. Only action moves the world, so to speak. And I just always thought that. It's like my dad, like I remember in college, I was just having a tough time with not with not with school because we talked earlier. I had no interest in school other than just getting B's. Uh, but with football, it was very difficult. And my dad's like, "What are you gonna fucking do? You just gonna quit like that? Just fucking run more, lift more. Show up to practice, be more physical, all that stuff that he taught me at a young age." So, but he was angry. My dad is very stoic, not because he's like a stoic guy. That's just who he was. And when I saw how angry he was with me, I was like, "Holy shit! I gotta fix this attitude real quick." So I think if you truly want it, then you have to address this issue too. Do you really want to change, or you just want to like just seep in your fucking in your misery? You have to, right? You have to ask that question of yourself. Do you really want to solve this problem? Right?
Right.
I mean, people tell me all the time they want to lose weight and get stronger. I'm like, all right, here you go. I'm like, well, then don't tell me you want to, I think if people, and I guess Jocko calls it extreme ownership, like
Yes.
own it. And I'll give you this is a great example. After the Palisades fires, you remember that in California? I
Yeah.
didn't hear one person say that they fucked up. One. All you have to say is like, dude, yeah, we made some mistakes, man. This is what we're doing to fix it. Let's be proactive. Dude, how many people have you ever heard say that after a tragedy? After the COVID bullshit?
Yes.
Nothing. Do you know what how many people would line up to hear someone say, listen, dude, I made a mistake. This is what we're going to do to rectify this mistake. And this is the actions we're going to take so it never happens again. Dude, people are like, oh my God. Even if they fucking lied, why don't you just say it? Uh,
Yes.
and that's one of the things that kind of got me out of, I would say, the real world is just no one's taking responsibility. So I just kind of got out of it, and I just work with my family. I work with my community. I work with anyone that I need to talk to. But I just don't have time for that negativity, because that shit, it affects you. If you even if you don't want to be part of it, if you hang around it and are exposed to it or listen to it, it seeps into your head. You know,
Yes.
I remember when I was in junior high, I was staying at my buddy's house. He didn't have air conditioning. It was August. We were on the second floor. I was so fucking hot. I couldn't believe any human could. I mean, it was Chicago, but not exactly, Death Valley, but it was fucking humid. And I remember I sat there and I just said, I'm cold. I'm cold. I'm cold. And I just kept on, thinking about it. Before fucking 10 minutes, I was shivering. And I was like, oh my God, shit works.
Mhm.
I mean, it fucking works. And
Yes.
that was what, dude, that, I don't know what, that must have been what, 1987 or something like that. I think, like, oh my God. And I've always taken that with me. And I do the same thing with like breathing exercises, like all this shit you learn. It's amazing what you can do with just a little bit of gumption, and discipline. So anyway, I know I'm just yapping here.
No, I don't consider it happening. You're actually saying very useful things here because I think that men, and I've been stressing in my videos that men have to take action about things that they have valid complaints for. I mean, I think that some complaints are valid, but like we're talking about here, if the complaint is valid, then we got to do something about it. And
Yes.
if it's collectively a male issue also, and all these guys are talking about issues online, well, then they have to do things together as well, not just individually.
Yes.
So
Yes.
definitely you're on the same line of thinking that I am. And before we go on to we're touch upon some other things here before we go on to the music section of this conversation as planned. Um, being that I told you before that, I mean, I did not take a look, practically speaking, my dad was, not present in my life. I did not really have a dad for most of my life. But now that
Mhm.
I do have accomplished some things with my life, let's say even professionally or academically, I have a son and a daughter. One thing that I personally even have to watch out for is I would like to instill some of the things that we've been speaking here, challenges, virtues,
Mhm.
accountability, lack of whining, forming your own way. Is that one thing that I think that I would have to watch out for is, let's say, putting pressure on a young man, my son being specifically,
Mhm.
of telling him to do something, because some men want to live vicariously through their sons for something that they did not do, or something
Yeah.
that they did not know. For example, I did not know some things from lack of guidance. Have you ever caught yourself as such a highly accomplished man yourself dealing with that?
I recognized it because my dad was a college football player, and he never, he did similar to stuff to what we do with our kids. Our expectations weren't outcome based. So does that make sense to you? So it
Yes.
wasn't about playing starting or doing this or doing that. It was, listen, you're going to show up and fucking work. If I talk to a coach and he says you're mouthing off or you're giving a half-ass effort, we have a problem. I don't care if you play. I do not care. I just want you to fucking be part of something. I want you to show up. I want you to sweat. Listen, I didn't play when I was in college. It took me 3 years to see the field. For someone who had played sports for so long and started on every fucking team he's ever been part of, played, did everything. Do you know what a kick in the nuts that is? Like, now listen, that was on me. I probably played at a higher level than I should have, or at least, but the, my dad's like, you never said you have to earn a scholarship. He's like, you should fucking show up and you break heads. That's what you're supposed to do. Like that's what you're. So I'm always, even with when we introduced our youngest son to training, we did it at a very early age. But the weight room was another thing, and he was super self-conscious because he's not as strong as dad. And I was like, and I told him, I was like, my youngest son and oldest son are obviously very different. And I was like, motherfucker, that's why I said, I'm like, when have I ever fucking told you got to squat 500 pounds or something like that?
Right.
Like, give me one goddamn instance, man.
Yeah.
And he's like, I can't. I'm like, then why do you think that? Now this is on you, motherfucker.
Yeah.
So my wife started training him first, and I just stayed out of it. And then eventually, I started working in there, and he was fine. So I guess the whole point is, and then one thing, like my oldest son, he took a slightly different path than I did, and I never. It's his fucking life. It's
Exactly.
his
Yes.
path to go through.
Right.
I'm just there to knock him on this, on the guardrails. Like, listen, motherfucker, go, you're going over here like this. And uh I've talked to my oldest son's mom, and she was texting me all this stuff. I said, just relax. This is part of being a dude. He's gonna be fine. He's got
Right.
a good moral system. He's willing to work. He's willing to do shitty jobs. Like, he's gonna be fine. And we laid the groundwork for him. It's gonna be okay. So I guess part of me, I was self-conscious about that with my kids and my experiences and stuff. And I never expected them to love lifting or love football or love this, but I expected them to be part of hard physical sports, to give them because they don't want to hear it from me, right? Like, I always laugh that, you know, people will say something like Dave and I always had the 100-mile rule. There's no experts within 100 miles. So if we originally in probably the mid 2000s asked the local football team, like, we'll help you out. Nah, you guys don't know anything. Yeah, why? Because we're in fucking town. But if we lived in Cleveland or something, you'd be like, oh yeah. Oh, these guys are from Cleveland. But anyway, the point being is I understood, I'm sure I wasn't perfect at that at all, but the outcome was never the goal. The path was the goal. The process was the goal.
Right.
I still, to this day, I have non-negotiables that I do. And this goes back to, when I made my list of things I want to do, like, these are the things I need to do. Wherever I end up is fine. But I'm not going to be outcome based. I'm going to be process based. And that was instilled in me at a very young age, probably not in those words, right? My dad's like, you fucking lift and you run hills. That's how it's done. Whatever happens after that, you'll be fine. And magically, you know
Yeah.
what happens when you're consistent for like 10 years? You know,
Yeah. Well,
things
big
happen.
things. Exactly. I mean, consistency over 10 years, that builds up and good
Yeah.
outcomes happen. Yes.
Yeah.
Because even me, just to throw this in there before we move on, is that sometimes I'll get like in this mode where I'll think to myself, well, gee, I'll talk to my wife and I'll say, oh, why don't we send my son to that nerdy STEM camp during summer to do
Mhm.
all, to get ahead and stuff
Yeah.
like that, right? She's like, excuse me, she'll say, wait a minute, let him be a kid because he's very young now.
Yeah.
But then like you said, I think that it's better, like, actually, you gave me an idea to think about more of the guardrails rather than saying, okay, you have to be an engineer, you have to be a doctor, you have to be a lawyer, or you must be a tradesman. I'm thinking that what you're saying is the way to go, actually. I know that's the way to go, but since I aired that out.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's funny. Probably 4 years ago, like, I love my parents to death. 4 years ago, I called my mom and dad. Usually, it's like, "What the fuck you guys doing? What's going on? Is dad being a pain in the ass? What'd you guys eat?" Because they live in Chicago, and I just want to eat Chicago food. I'm like, "Come on, fucking buy a pizza."
Yeah,
You
yeah,
put me here eating home cooked food. That's bullshit. Uh, but I called my dad up. And I said, "Dad, I gotta talk to you. Like, I need dad advice right now." And that's what he did. He was, probably 75 that day. And he talked to me like I was when I was 14. And I was like, that shit never ends, man.
yeah,
And that always drove me nuts. Like, when you're 18, you're out of the house, you're on your own. Listen, I told my kids, you can live in this fucking house. Like, you better be working, and you better be doing something else other than just working and not playing video games. Fucking
yeah,
start a band. I don't care. You guys can practice here. I don't give a shit. If you're working hard, keeping your body and mind healthy, and don't give a shit. You can do whatever you need to do. Uh,
exactly.
so I don't know where we are going with that, but I never understood, like, your parents' job is never over,
Right. I
ever.
agree with that. Yes, I do agree. And that's something that actually my grandfather said, actually, this is exactly what you said. It
Yeah.
doesn't end. And Thank you for that. And speaking of music, you said it's about something about starting a band. I want to get into the little bit of a section of this conversation
Yeah,
about music. I noticed through the years, reading your blog and some of your content that you've put out, that music is part of your life and it's important to you. And you are a metal fan, and so am I. And
yeah,
I'm also an extreme metal fan. Can you tell us how music got into your life? I'm going to share also how music got into my life as you
yeah.
explain yours. So,
Well,
yeah.
I always laugh when someone's like, oh, this happened all the time when I was a kid. It's like, oh, so and so's son, he likes lifting too. I'm like, no, he doesn't.
Yeah.
And I always heard that, like, I'm into extreme music too. I like Slipknot. I had this conversation a
Right.
couple of weeks ago at a doctor's office, like, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And you just nowadays, because back then you're like, no way, man, fucking Venom rules.
Exactly. Yes.
Long story short, when I was in third grade, I had an awesome family system, and I had two cousins, Mark and Scott, who were older than me. And Scott we were going on a day trip, and he brought a boombox, and I was in third grade, and he put in Godzilla by Blue Oyster Cult Live.
Mm,
And it's a fucking heavy riff, right? Boom. Fu Manchu covered it. Awesome cover. Anyway, I was like, oh my God. Oh my
yes.
God. And over the years, friends. I had friends of mine in junior high who had older brothers, and they were into also the weird shit. So I got Morbid Tales by Celtic Frost in sixth grade. I
Yeah.
got Welcome to Hell and Black Metal by Venom. Slayer's catalog. I got obviously the first Metallica albums. Uh, and so I was inducted into the world of, you know, craziness very early on. Celtic Frost, when I heard they have Morbid Tales, I think is an untouchable album. Perfect 10 out of 10 album. They had a song on there called Procreation of the Wicked. And it
Mm,
just fucking bends slower and shit. And I was like, listen, I enjoy the, Lombardo fucking blasting and all that other stuff, but man, this is awesome. It wasn't until this is how fucking retarded I am. I've gotten my wife one fucking present. I don't even know when her birthday is. December 23rd, 1993 is when I picked up Take As Needed for Pain by I Hate God.
mm,
I saw Phil Anselmo of Pantera wearing that I Hate God shirt. I was like, who the fuck names their band I Hate God?
yeah.
Like huge balls. Because
Yeah.
you're not selling going out in a major label or anything like
Yeah.
that. So
Yes.
I'm like, I don't know. And this is back in the day, right? You remember this. You just bought a CD and hope for the best.
Yes. Yeah.
Everybody had it. So I bought the CD. I was on a break from the Air Force Academy, and I put it in. And in the first track is a little bit fast in the beginning, and then I thought my batteries on my CD player were dying because it went fucking slower and shit.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is what I want, but unfortunately, so I changed the batteries, popped it back in. I was like, no, this is awesome. So I love like the fucking low end sludge, dirtier and shit. Just tune low, play slow. I've since morphed into some different stuff, but that was what so all through college, man, I was obsessed. I got so many weird underground. I was able to get a very good record store that would order a lot of weird shit for me. So I got into all the early black metal. They call it the second wave, but I don't know. I call that the first wave, like Dark Throne and Bar Some.
Yeah.
I know like Merciful Fate and I know
Right.
Celtic Frost, but I'm like, what we know as black metal really started other than Bathory. But anyway, uh, I got into death metal and stuff, but I always loved my two favorite things are sludge S stuff. I love Neurosis. I don't know if you've ever seen or heard Neurosis. I saw him live. It was the most powerful live experience I've ever seen in my entire life. I looked around, people were weeping,
Mm,
fucking weeping. And this was I was like, oh my God. Like that, I always liked Neurosis. I didn't love them until I saw them live. And I can tell this story a million times. I used to go to, Maryland Death Fest every year for about 10 years. So there's three stages. There's probably 150 bands. It's crazy. In order to see a band you really needed to see outside, you had to go there early and sit through a bunch of bands, right?
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because you had to get a spot. I sat through Aura Noir, who's Blasphemers' old band, whatever. Solid band from Norway. Norway, yeah. I sat through Corrosion of Conformity
Oh,
without Pepper. So this was Corrosion of Conformity, not COC. Legendary band. Neurosis gets on there. It sounded like everyone else played through a little AM radio. Uh, it's like they brought all their fucking roadies forever. Fucking, it was the most powerful experience I've ever heard in my life. It was, they didn't say a word. It started raining. There was like lightning, and I was like, oh my God. It was like they summoned the gods. It was intense. And like I said, I looked around and people are just bawling their eyes out. That's how powerful it was. So like, I don't know. But I played in the band in high school. And then when I finally started making some money, I bought like a drum set. I bought a recording device with 12 tracks on there. This is before, whatever you call that, you can use on your computer. So I did, and I had a bunch of amps downstairs. And so eventually I teamed up with a good friend of mine who's a remarkable drummer, and we record shit all the time. He drives out here, and I play the guitar, the bass, sing. He does all the drumming. We work on all the song structures and stuff, and it's awesome. So I don't know. It's been part of my life. I learned how to play drums, basically bought a drum set and just did this until I could fucking rhythm it.
Yeah.
Which, God, my parents were amazing, because not only did they hear me practice drums, our band played in our basement because I'm the drummer. That's where they practice.
Right.
And that band I played in high school turned out to be was the originators of Midwest emo. They changed their name. All those same guys played and they became Captain Jazz. And it's like, they're not metal or anything, but it's like they were huge for that world. And anyway, it was an awesome experience. So, but dude, I don't think people understand how awesome it was to get like a recorded tape from someone. Like, dude, you got to hear this shit.
Yeah.
And then hearing it online, because you had to work for these bands. Or, you discover, you pick out an album because it's got a big pentagram on there. Like, fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah.
These
Yeah.
guys ain't fucking around.
Yeah.
Fuck Jerry Falwell. Here he goes, brother.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was fun. I like that, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I remember even going to Tower Records and seeing cassettes there, and even taking a chance sometimes, even just for the album artwork. And
Yeah, all the time.
yeah, because I remember actually how I got into some extreme music when I was younger. I was in a gym class. I was 13 years old in eighth grade, and some guy had that old school punk haircut where it was just a little bit of hair in the front, and everything
Yeah.
else was shaved off, and he had purple dye in it one day.
Yeah.
Guy, and then he named all these death metal bands, and then he also mentioned a lot of New York hardcore bands. And I was at
Yeah.
that point, I was only into the standard heavy metal or rock, meaning the Guns N' Roses, some glam hair metal like Poison and Rat and Warrant, and then
Yep.
Iron Maiden, like basically heavy metal. So
Yeah.
or rock. I guess like Guns N' Roses, I wouldn't
Yeah.
consider them metal, they're rock. So he started listing off all these bands. He says, Agnostic Front, Gorilla Biscuits, other hardcore bands, sick of it all. Then he just started mentioning some death metal bands like Sepultura, Napalm Death, Morbid Angel.
Yeah.
And I was at Tower Records with my dad one day, and I just said, and I just remembered, I said, Agnostic Front. I went to the section, they had an alphabetical order, Agnostic
Yeah.
Front. That day, I put on Cause for Alarm by Agnostic Front. I mean, they're an old school hardcore band, right?
Yeah.
That
Dude, Call for Alarm is legendary.
yeah. That was that is not a hardcore album. That's a thrash metal album, right?
Yeah.
And also their other album, Liberty and Justice, and also One Voice. I mean, these are either metalcore or speed metal or thrash metal. So I put on Cause for Alarm, that first song, The Eliminator.
Hmm.
I was blown away as a 13-year-old in eighth grade. Yeah.
How is this possible?
Yes, I actually thought that. And then
Yeah.
I also bought The Massacre by The Exploited. And again,
Okay.
that was more like punk crossed
Yeah.
over with metal. It's pretty
Yeah.
much a metal album. But then I went into their old catalog, a real old school punk from like, let's
Yeah.
say 81 and on.
Yeah.
And then I started to get into death metal, like, as you know, the explosion of death metal in the early 90s, Cannibal Corpse, Malevolent Creation,
Oh yeah.
Death.
It was either New York or Florida.
Yeah, New York or Florida, yes. Yeah, Malevolent Creation was also from New York, upstate New York. Yeah, and then
Yeah.
also they had the recording studios in Florida. So
And Morris Sound and
yeah. Really, who hit home with me out of all the death metal bands, I liked a lot of them, but who hit home with me the most was Morbid Angel and Death. And then
Yeah.
yeah, and then I got into the black metal after that, because I think it was this transition where like you go from, let's say, hair metal, glam metal, then something sounds harder, and then you go to that.
But it's going from smoking cigarettes to shooting heroin.
Exactly, yeah. And I
Same.
also even remember that Phil Anselmo, who he's a metal, a metal
Oh,
performer, and he said that Agnostic Front had a big impact on him
yeah,
because
yeah.
kind of Agnostic Front were these guys who were
Like
not,
carnivore,
yeah,
like yeah.
yeah. Well, actually, I think that Pete still wrote the lyrics, the let's say lyrics that you really can't write now on Course for Alarm.
Oh,
Some of the
I
songs,
know. I know exactly what you're talking about right now.
you know which songs I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you could publish those songs now, actually, without getting a lot of trouble.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, but then I eventually like I really am glad that you mentioned the black metal because I think that as I get older, New York hardcore just and punk seem just too I do appreciate it still. I still do listen to some Agnostic Front, but some of the music was, and look, I'm not a musician. It's kind of, let's say, angst filled or repetitious. And
It's hard to get this, and I will call, like, remember when Metallica, like, I introduced the song Damage Incorporated to our playlist. And I control the playlist for the high school. I'm
yeah,
like, listen, anything before the Black Album's fine, boys.
yeah,
And people are like, when you are angry, you write different music.
yes,
And now Metallica, like, they're like, fuck the IRS, man. The man's like, their anger is much different than there was when
right,
they were 18, 19, 20. And
right.
it's sometimes it's hard to, but the one thing that's interesting because hardcore, for anyone that doesn't know, was more than just music. It was a complete lifestyle. It was
Yes,
it was a, I mean, obviously it was a genre, but it was like a crew.
yes, yes,
And you see this a lot with the straight edge people too. Like, you kind of
yes,
grow out of it, but I never grew out of uh like and Master of Puppets or Rain and Blood. Like, to me, it's
right.
still relevant today. I don't know if
Yeah,
that makes sense, but maybe because hardcore is more than the music, and maybe you just
yes,
don't reckon. I don't know.
yes.
That'd be my theory.
Yes, I agree with that actually. So one thing, sorry about those pings that are coming through. I don't know why they're still connected to my computer. Sorry about that.
I can't hear it, so don't
Okay.
worry.
Okay. So I didn't want to interrupt your saying. So, but I wanted to get into that because what stuck with me is also actually some of the old metal and black metal. Like even death metal lost its touch with me a little bit because black metal. Maybe you can relate to this. There's something I don't know, maybe more visceral about black metal, or I just like the macabre or grotesque kind of
It's a
imagery.
it's a very atmospheric, dark. Some of it, not all of it. I'd say you'd have to. And I also think, and this may, you could probably say this about early hardcore, but I still love the early 90s black metal because every band sounded different. For
Yeah,
example, Bursum sounded different than Emperor, sounded
yeah,
different than Dark Throne, sounded different than Immortal. Uh, and, but like, you could feel like the rage.
yes, yeah,
And I don't know, I guess you could say that too with hardcore, but I think there's just a bigger atmosphere with black metal.
yeah,
And the other thing is, man, if you didn't, I remember when all the church burnings happened, and like, this is before, like, you just figured these guys walk around with corpse paint, they fucking hit everyone, they're gonna kill everyone. Like, I never wanted to think of them as human.
I
Like,
understand.
as they're their own, they don't eat food, they're always angry. And I like that. I like the mystique of it all. Like, I don't know
Yes,
if you remember, there's an old Kerrang, there's a magazine that's Kerrang that had a picture of Varg on the cover holding knives. It's a legendary
yeah,
thing. And I remember, oh my God, these guys
I
are
know the
cool.
photo. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And now it's like you see a video with, Fenrez, like he ran for mayor or something. It's
yeah.
like, oh, no, 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 don't get involved.
Right. Well, something I got to throw in there before we part ways is that I got to throw in, being that you said something about, let's say, the mystique of black metal. I wanted to mention to you Destroyer 666 because that's one of my favorite bands. And I
Yeah.
think if I recall correctly, one of your videos on Instagram, I think that you have a,
Yeah, Destroyer 66. So you know how I got that sweatshirt? I went to Maryland Death Fest.
yeah,
That was the only 2X sweatshirt they had left. It was so fucking cold that year. Usually it's like 92 degrees basking in the sun. The one year I don't bring any, like, one sweatshirt. And I was like, fuck, I'll just, it's fine. Just, I got so many compliments about that sweatshirt.
yes,
And of course, people, was it KK War Slut? Is that the guy?
yes, KK War.
KK War Slut. He's, not exactly the most PC dude.
No,
Some listen, some of the Destroyer stuff is awesome. Some of the stuff, I don't know, sometimes it's a little juvenile. Uh I don't I love SOD. Fucking
oh
love SOD.
yeah,
I think Dan Lilker's bass in SOD is the best thing I've ever heard. And I remember hearing that in junior high and be like, why does everyone's bass sound stupid, but his sounds awesome? Why doesn't
right,
everyone just sound like this?
right,
I don't, other than SOD, I don't like jokes in my music. And I don't
yeah.
know, even if I don't feel it's sincere, I feel kind of weird. I don't know. Maybe that, not saying that Destroyer's not sincere about stuff, but I like to think that when you're screaming something, you mean it. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the album, this is one of my favorite metal albums of all time, Unchain the Wolves. And I
Yeah.
mean, I think that
It's a blue and white, right? The
yeah,
cover. Yeah.
yes, the blue and white, and they had the wolves on the cover.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and then also the other one, Cold Steel for an Iron Age,
Hmm.
Phoenix Rising was an EP, but those two, Cold Steel and also Unchain the Wolves, that those two albums to this day really do move me. And I mean, I guess that Destroyer, there's all these, let's say these hybrid bands. Is it blackened metal or blackened thrash? Like, what could you really put, can you classify Creator or Sodom? People say that they're black metal, they were speed metal. I don't know. They sound awesome.
Yeah, I know. That always cracks me up when like Sodom and early Creator was proto black metal and all this stuff, or Merciful Fate. I'm like, dude, Merciful Fate's Merciful Fate. Like, I don't know what the hell. It's just weird how there's so many weird subgenres. But the one thing I thought, and you can see this with death metal, you can see this with black metal, is at the beginning, I'm just making this up, let's say 10 bands that all sound different. Death sounds nothing like Morbid Angel.
Right.
Nothing.
Yes.
And then what ends up happening is the next generation takes all those different bands and picks the pieces that everyone kind of likes, and then they make, so the second copy or second generation all sounds the same
Yeah.
because they all took the best parts out of Morbid Angel, out of Cannibal, whatever. And so as the years go on, everyone sounds the same because, does that make sense? So it's the same thing
Yes.
with death metal and black metal. Like I don't know. I'd like to think people could tell the difference between Bursum and Emperor. I mean, to me, they couldn't sound any more different.
Right.
Uh, but I don't know I don't know. So, but there's one band, I'm telling you, someone sent this to me. Let me grab this out of my stack here. These guys are, I think from Tennessee. Put my glasses on here. Uh, it's Knoll. There we go.
I see.
Oh my God, fucking crazy shit. I don't know how else to, it's like a weird mix. They're listed as grindcore. I'm like, I don't see, I guess maybe their early albums were, I don't know. But their stage shows are incredibly elaborate. Their singer is insane, just heavy, just dark shit. And there's another out. This is one of my favorite albums of all time. It's ironic because I still have this came out in like 2013. That's like the cover,
I see.
and it's a band, and they've only had 3 songs. They released like an EP, and they never existed again. The band is called VRTRA, Vertra. If you liked, if you could imagine kind of black metal, death metal, Neurosis, unbelievable band. And I must have listened to that EP 6 million times. I wish they would release it on CD and whatever, but you can't find it. I mean, I don't even know who's in the band because they had one of those things, guitarist is Jake,
Yeah, I
there's
see.
Don. Like, I don't know what the fucking guys are.
Yeah, that's kind of funny actually, because if you go to Metal Archives, and Metal Archives is an extraordinary resource
Yeah.
to find information
Oh
about
yeah.
the most obscure bands from
Yep. They
all the,
released one demo in 1984.
yeah, and then they listed them
Oh,
like you said, like, oh, guitars, John, bass,
yep.
Alex. So
I know.
yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, I know. Is that the Encyclopedia Metal? Is that what it's
Yeah,
called? Metal Encyclopedia?
Encyclopedia Metallum, and then
Yeah.
it's really
Yeah.
metal-archives.com.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
love going there because it's always like the 10 degrees of Kevin Bacon or 6 degrees when you're like, because there's got to be guys like Phil or Max Cavalera. Like they got to be like 6 degrees to just about everyone,
Yes. Yeah.
especially
Yeah.
Phil. Oh my God. Have you ever heard his guitar work in Necrophagia?
No, I didn't know. I didn't get them.
Oh my God. So this was when Phil was fucking shooting up heroin, which is the best Phil. Uh,
All right.
that's when he had like the long hair and he was, but he played guitar in an old school death metal band that had two albums and they went to funk, but he was a huge fan. He reached out to the creator and singer and said, "Hey, I love your band. Let's do something." So he played guitar in this band called Necrophagia, and his one album, you can find videos on YouTube that are definitely not safe for work, but their album was called Holocausto de la Morte.
Mm.
And Phil is fucking a terrific riff writer. And it is almost Black Flag in some spots. It's atonal, doesn't really make sense sometimes because he's looking at it from the guitar like a singer almost. I hate to say it, but oh my God, dude, it's still probably, if you listed the top 25 things I've listened to the most in the last 10 years, that is on there. And killer vocals. It's old school death metal, but done with a atonal twist that's a little fucked up. So have you ever seen Portal live? You know what Portal, you ever hear Portal?
No, I never heard of that. I never
Oh
heard.
my God.
Yeah,
And if I was there, I'd kick you right in your yam bag.
all right. I don't keep on top of every band, but okay.
Yeah. Check out Portal. If I know, honey. Check out Portal. You have to keep an incredibly open mind because nothing makes sense.
Okay.
Nothing. They're from Australia. Imagine incantation
Oh, yeah. That's old school.
with reverb and no structure,
I see.
just chaos. And the drummer, this is how my buddy who plays drums says, Portal is like the drums were filled with helium and then you just fucking hitting them down at random times.
Yeah. Well,
It is weird.
I got to
And
check them out then because I was an incantation fan myself. So I
yeah,
want to check it
yeah.
out.
Yeah, it's like yeah, imagine but you gotta hear some of their older stuff, dude. I'm telling you, I saw them live. They don't play live obviously very often in the States because they're from Australia. They probably only played once or twice. Oh my God. It was my buddy who had used quite a few drugs when we saw him. He's like, that's as closest as a bad acid trip I've ever seen in my life. And he's like, if you want to know what it feels like,
Yeah.
just sounded beyond insane. So I got to get almost done here.
Okay.
So let's wrap up. I'm sorry, man. I got someone waiting for me.
That's fine. So, everybody, excuse me. That wraps it up with Jim Wendler.
Yeah.
And they can find you at jimwendler.com, right?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for being with me today.
I appreciate that, Brad. Thank you.